Hey friends, it's Nick. I hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to talk about an important part of my cancer recovery, and that is my total hip replacement. In previous videos, I talked about how medical negligence, my own indifference, and ultimately my radiation treatments led my body down the path of avascular necrosis, which is the death of bone tissue due to lack of blood supply. And I also discussed the many trials and tribulations I had to endure in order to get this surgery. The first being, this procedure wasn't FDA approved in the United States. I know what you might be thinking. Nick, a total hip replacement, isn't that special? People get them all the time in the United States. What makes yours any different? Well, my lymphoma had eaten holes in my actual hip bone, and so much of this bone was destroyed by the cancer that I actually needed another piece. So not only did I need a total hip replacement, but I also needed a margarita glass looking contraption that would go into my actual hip bone and connect with the total hip replacement. This actual piece is not FDA approved and had to be custom made overseas in Germany. That German engineering, man, gotta love it. I often wonder if somewhere on my hip replacement does it say made in Germany. I am a German myself. And now that I have this German piece inside of me, I consider myself at least 20% more German. Anyway, not only did I have to wait until this piece had to be custom made overseas, I also had many more delays with the procedure, such as a bad PET scan, a really bad EKG, a really bad case of the flu. It was complication after complication after complication, and it seemed like I would never get my hip replacement. But after finding out that I had a really bad EKG, that it wasn't my heart, after recovering from the flu, after waiting for them to make my prosthesis overseas, etc., etc. Check out part 2 if you didn't see it. Link that down below. Finally, the day had come where I was set to have this procedure done. Now, obviously, I was very nervous. Being wheeled into the OR, all I could think about was, am I gonna feel anything when I wake up? Am I gonna fall asleep? Is it gonna feel like 3 seconds? Is it gonna feel like forever? But I just remember being wheeled into this huge operating room, and people were scrubbing up and washing their hands, and everyone was in their Smurf attire. I'm laying there shaking. The only thing that's giving me comfort was my orthopedic oncologist assistant, who was next to me the entire time. But I remember being so scared. I saw all the tools hanging from the walls, all the saws, all the cutting devices, all the pliers, and the room was huge. All these heart monitors. It was daunting. Now, I had watched a video of a total hip replacement before I got this procedure done. Would not recommend doing that. Avoid if you must watch. Do so at your own discretion. It definitely made me a lot more nervous than what the procedure actually turned out to be. There's no need for you to see that. They put you to sleep for a reason, and I love to torture myself. Fun fact, I love the Flight channel on YouTube. It's one of my favorite channels. Love it, but I'll watch it in excess when I'm about to board a plane. Man, I'm such a masochist, like, just don't do what I do, and everything will be fine. So they're giving me the IV, and they're, trying to calm me down as best as they could. I'm terrified that I'm not going to be put under, and I'm going to be stuck in this paralyzed state where I could feel everything, but I can't voice the fact that I can feel everything. Just daydreaming about the worst case scenario, as anyone in that situation would. I get my IV. They get ready to give me the drugs, the good ones, the nappy sleep time, 8 hours drugs. Man, I must sound like such a druggie on this channel, but to quote the legendary chef from South Park, there's a time and place for everything, and it's called cancer. My orthopedic oncologist assistant, the angel that she is, she's next to me, and she's telling me to think of Florida or somewhere I really want to be, and apparently I said I want to be riding bikes. I love riding bikes on the boardwalk. It's like one of my favorite things. Anyway, all of a sudden we're talking about bikes and I'm out like a light. So what felt to be 2 seconds later, I wake up in recovery. And as my consciousness is returning and I'm waking up, every second that goes by, I feel more pain and more pain and more pain. It's my luck. And I wondered when it would stop because I'm trying to lay there and be quiet and not really disturb anyone. But all of a sudden, the pain exceeds the threshold of being quiet, and I say, ow, ow, and all of a sudden I'm screaming in pain. What happened was, they lost my consent form for a pain blocker. And they told me that this happened, and I was obviously very annoyed because I'm 26 years old and my mom has to come in the room and sign my consent form saying I could have drugs. I was too drugged up, apparently, to make any decisions in my current state. Meanwhile, the nurse in recovery is running around like a chicken without her head because I'm screaming my head off in pain. She's like, I'm gonna get you some Dilaudid. And I'm like, great, do it right now, please. Later, they told me that they planned on me waking up in pain, but I do remember, ma'am, you saying that you lost my consent form. And, maybe they just didn't want to get sued. I don't know. They told my mom and aunt that they wanted me to wake up in pain to see how it was, but I'm telling you, this amount of pain that I woke up in is not normal. It was not okay, like, at all. I understand a little bit of pain, but waking up in a massive amount of pain, me screaming and disturbing the rest of the recovery ward probably was not intended. Just letting you know, hospital that I will not name for privacy reasons. I forgive you, but I will not forget you. Okay, so I see my family, and they're all concerned because apparently the surgery took a little longer than expected, like a lot longer. And I'm not excited to see them. I just want my drugs because I'm in a massive amount of pain. I think by the time they saw me, they did give me the Dilaudid, so I was a lot better. I was no longer screaming, so the whole ward could hear me, but I was still in pain. Actually, when they let them in recovery, that's when pain management came over and they're like, okay, we're gonna install this pain catheter. And here I'm thinking, this would have already been done. I hate needles, I hate all that. And they have to basically put a thread up my inner thigh so they could deliver pain meds to the site. I was definitely not thrilled about this, but they were just like, come on, like, you want to be out of pain, right? And I'm just like, man, I hate you guys. You guys lost my consent form. This should have been done already. But if any of you find yourselves in this situation where they have to basically sew in this pain catheter, I'm gonna say about 2 seconds of discomfort, and then it was all worth it. But once I get my pain catheter, I'm good. And shortly after that, I get wheeled up to my room. And I already told you guys about the story about being woken up by Dracula. That was a living nightmare for me because I'm used to being treated like a cancer patient where they know that you're a human pincushion and they don't want to give you any more pricks than you get on a daily basis. So when you have cancer and you have a power port, they will stop the chemotherapy if they need blood, and they will get blood from the same hole, and they'll be on their merry way. But like I said in my last video, I didn't get that good a treatment in this new hospital that I had to go in for this orthopedic procedure. Obviously, I lost a lot of blood. I had to get a lot of blood transfusions. Basically, if you have a blood cancer and or you need a hip replacement, these things are inevitable. I know some people are against them for religious reasons, but basically, like, they're unavoidable. You're dealing with what I'm dealing with. Blood transfusions, expect that. I was also full of tube drains, and I had this contraption that would, you know, squeeze my leg every couple seconds just to keep the blood flowing. They made me walk like a day and a half after I got the procedure, which was surprising to me because throughout my cancer treatment, they did not allow me to walk whatsoever because they didn't know what they were dealing with. But after this hip replacement, they wanted to get me walking right away because they didn't want anything to stiffen up. The first 2 times I attempted to walk, I almost passed out. And This could be attributed to all the blood loss. Obviously, they start you off walking with a walker, and I basically had to learn to walk again in my mid-20s. But if you have to get this procedure and you fail the first couple times trying to walk, that was exactly me. There was one time, like, I think, 2 or 3 days after the procedure, the nurses were like, we need to get blood, like, right now. And I'm like, I just tried to walk and I just passed out. Can you give me like a minute? And they're like, no. No mercy at this hospital. Like, no mercy. Losing consent forms for pain meds, really mean nurses. And the guy in the room next to me, he got his hand shot off because it's a bad area, okay? Very bad area. And, he was scoping out my room for expensive items. So, very scary place to recover from surgery. By the way, Dracula, she came literally every day at 4 a.m. for blood. And I said no every time because at this point I cursed this biatch off so much that I knew she didn't like me. And I didn't want to feel her wrath, okay? So there's that. But I believe I was in the hospital for a week. And that's when they decided to take out the drains and the tubes. And if you have to get this done, be prepared because it feels like they're taking out a literal tapeworm from your leg. It feels so gross and weird. I hated it, and it was like 3 of these things they had to pull out. Ew. Just a random fun fact that was unexpected. What else? Oh, when they took out the pain catheter, it wasn't nearly as bad as putting it in. I was dreading them taking it out because, it's on my inner thigh, and I don't like my inner arms or inner thighs messed with in any way. It's so painful to me. But them taking out the pain catheter was nothing, literally nothing. And after I left the hospital, I went to go stay in another nursing home and rehab. If you've been on this channel for a long time, you know that this is not the first nursing home and rehab that I lived in. I had to live in one of these things after my first round of chemo, and it turned out they really didn't know how to rehabilitate me, so I just stayed there for no reason. But in this nursing home and rehab, they actually did provide physical therapy. And it was actually very, very useful. And I went from walker to cane in about a week, and from cane to nothing in about a couple weeks. I think I spent either 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks at the nursing home rehab. And if they give you the option and insurance will pay for it, I say definitely go to a rehab place, because if you just go home, you're not going to want to do the work it will take to recover, if that makes sense. I did have 6 months of physical therapy afterwards, after I got home, but this is after I could totally walk and everything was good. Shout out to my physical therapist in town. He's amazing, and without him, I wouldn't be able to walk right to this day. There's still some things I cannot do, like bending over to tie my shoe is still a challenge. I could bend this way, but this way, not really. I cannot sit cross-legged. Yeah, can't do it. You know what I mean. Crisscross applesauce. I could be cross-legged. I'm gonna say the most common question I get is, does it feel fake in there? Does it feel like hardware? And the honest answer is no. It doesn't feel any different from my other hip. Maybe slightly. Maybe if something hits me, I realize I really can't feel it. But overall, 90%, if the scar wasn't there, I would have forgotten I got this procedure. And I have no regrets. All my pain is gone, and I can walk normally again. I actually recently went to see this doctor because I'm part of a clinical trial. It's part of the condition that the FDA approved my procedure is to, constantly check in with my orthopedic oncologist. And he says everything looks great. And he actually asked me to walk down the hallway like a catwalk so his medical students could try to guess what side my prosthesis was on, and they didn't know. They couldn't say which one it was on. And that's actually such an amazing improvement from where I was in 2017, 2018 versus where I am now. It's night and day. So I have no regrets. Like, if your doctor is recommending you get a hip replacement for whatever reason, it's definitely worth it. I don't know what you're going through, but I went through avascular necrosis, and it literally relieved all my pain. I don't have any pain anymore. Maybe the occasional residual knee pain from, walking so incredibly fudged up that whole entire time. Other than that, no regrets. You like my real hair? Yeah, I didn't feel like wearing a wig today. It's incredibly hard to wear wigs when you have this amount of hair. Why do I still wear wigs? Well, I love changing my hair color, but going to the salon is a lot of money. I never liked it, to be honest with you. And yeah, this is a way to change your hair color without the commitment, the money. They are expensive, but whatever. And the damage. I'm going to tell you a little story about Nick in high school. I decided to bleach my hair blonde, and it wasn't a good look for me, and it destroyed my hair. Completely destroyed it. Luckily, it grows fast. I was always blessed in that department. No extensions, no nothing. This is 4 years out of chemotherapy. So if you're going through cancer treatment right now, this is what you have to look forward to 4 years later. If you have any questions regarding my total hip replacement, feel free to ask in the comments. I try to answer every single comment. If I don't answer your comment, it's because I didn't see it. Gmail is horrendous at letting me know when someone comments, but I try to go back to my videos and make sure that all my comments go answered. I love you all so much. Thank you for over 250 subs, and I'm really excited that you guys like to hear what I have to say. I have a few ideas for upcoming videos. I'm gonna try to make a lot of them this week because I have a few friends that are in Florida. They're looking forward to my videos. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. If I left out anything, I will make a part 2. But I think that's the general idea of my total hip replacement. I wanted to make it a longer video, but it really wasn't a long story. It was the procedure, the physical therapy at the rehab, and then physical therapy from home for 6 months. Again, if you have any questions, comment down below. Drop me a like if you would like, and subscribe for more lymphoma-related content from the eyes of a current survivor and former patient. I love you so much. Have a good day. Bye. Na zdrowie. Have a good